You're listening to Big Blend Radio's special Earth Day show, but today on this show we're talking about gardening for wildlife. And, you know, Nancy and I have been traveling through we've been traveling the country, through many states. We've been doing America, basically. We've been across it. During the pandemic, one of the lodging decisions we made was bed and breakfast because they were safer. And what we found was, my God, an entire new experience of basically innkeepers who knew the region, innkeepers that care about their historic properties or natural properties. And we're like visitor bureaus, actually. You could go in, have breakfast, and they'll be able to tell you what to do, where to stay, where to play, all of the good stuff. And today we're going to talk about their gardens, because a lot of innkeepers garden for wildlife. And so this is something very important, you know, when we think about what businesses do in regards to what are their footprints in the environment. And then when a bed and breakfast, if you want to sit and have breakfast and watch the birds, well, then you've got a garden for them. And so we're very excited. You know, we do this fourth Friday show with Margot Carrera, who's an amazing nature photographer. Mm-hmm. You can go find out about her art. Go to CarreraFineArtGallery.com. But Margot, how are you doing? You've been sitting in through this entire show. Are you there, Margot? Oopsie, maybe not. Maybe.
Can you hear me?
Maybe not.
Yeah, there.
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Okay, I was muted. Sorry. My dog was barking earlier.
Well, we may have a dog bark, you know.
Yeah. So, I've just been so enjoying the show. And one thing is just sticking out tremendously. So I just want to, in case, you know, you chat with everyone else and I step out because I'm going to be leaving soon. I just want to share with you what I have got from the show today, and it's this image of a drop of water as it hits a lake or something, and how it just kind of goes out and ripples out and out and out.
Oh, the ripple effect.
Yeah. And I think that is what is happening with taking care of the earth and the planet, and especially you're talking about gardening. It starts at home with us with recycling.
For sure.
It starts at home with us. Like in my home, I'm refurbishing my garden, getting the soils back to where they're healthy and can grow better plants, growing more plants that are natural to the area, that help the birds and the plants and the bees and the butterflies, what have you, and then it ripples out, you know, to having solar on my roof, and then it ripples out to working with the neighbors in gardening and gardening our community and doing projects in the community like the Bethesda Green is such a great example, and you know, then it just expands. So we go. It starts with us is my big message for the show, and it seems like everybody has done the same, even with the music. So
I thought you
show.
liked the music.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
For sure.
What's not to love?
Margot, I think, you know, when I said to you, like, hey, you know, Earth Day falls on the show that you're on every fourth, you know, Friday. And you're like, well, I'm not surprised. It's just, you're so right. And we're going to get moving because, like, everything just kept, you know,
Go for it.
We got to it just kept getting bigger and bigger. So let's start in Asheville, North Carolina. Our friends over at Lion in the Road's Bed and Breakfast, who at one point trusted us to run their inn for 3 nights, and then we're doing it again because, I don't know, we're all crazy. But they really mansion in Asheville, but
it worked so well the first time.
Hey, did we do okay? I mean, and no one died, right? No one
died.
Pancake. This is good. Steve, Karen, welcome back. Listen, your B&B is in Asheville. Beer USA, you make beer, which is great for guests, and you have a certified wild. And this is the whole thing about this garden segment is looking at, I always say, like, corporate America, can you stop the lawns? Can we start doing some nature-fied, can we make it pretty? And I think this is one thing what Bed and Breakfast has been doing is putting in gardens and certified wildlife backyard. Whether you're certified or not really doesn't matter. It matters, but it's about not having a dead space of, we look at what's happening in our oceans. Our oceans have, harmful algal blooms and all of these things that are affecting our marine life. And, of course, that comes from oil spills and all of these things. But it's also happening in our communities. And Bed and Breakfast, a lot of you guys are, historic places, historic homes. And if we take away the natural life around you, no matter how big or small your garden area is, we create these dead zones for, nature. And I feel that from David Mizejewski, who is from the National Wildlife Federation, who's been on their shows a zillion times, and he taught us about that, the dead zones. In neighborhoods, if we don't garden and we don't garden right, then we create these dead zones. And so, monarchs and hummingbirds and birds and, all the bees and everybody flying through, they have a dead zone, and where they think used to be a good place to land to, feed and shelter and procreate. It's spring. There's all kinds of things happening in the garden right now. Then they can't. And so when Bed and Breakfast do it right, it's amazing because it's not only are you keeping that dead zone from not happening, but you're also creating a space for your guests, but you're also educating your guests to do it at their home. And you guys, you're in the historic Montfort district of Asheville, so it's historic. And you have a garden, a beautiful garden, but you have bears, but you're kind of you're in a historic district. It's not like you're out in like acres of land. So I think this is something special about what you guys do, that you create that little hub of joy for people and the bears and the birds.
Yep.
Absolutely.
It's very cool. And I know it's a lot of work, but I want to bring our other guests on the show. So I'm going to get this right. I'm going to get. I want to bring. I think we got Kathy Hiatt on. I don't know if Steve's on there with her. Kathy is over at Bottger Mansion in Old Town Albuquerque. This is a bed and breakfast historic mansion in the heart of Old Town. So when I talk about this dead zone, this is incredible. Old Town Albuquerque. We've got the city around you. She's on Route 66. Kathy, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good. Is Steve with you? Or are you? I know that all of you could go on and off because you have guests. It's Friday night. It's not a good night to have B&B.
Oh no, we're fine.
Cool.
Yeah. He's here. He's listening. Can be here. He's actually not feeling all that great today. We're having a ferocious windstorm right now. Gusts up to 60, 70 miles an hour. It's just been awful all day.
Oh, yeah, it's April in the desert. Yeah.
Yeah, it's usually not this bad. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But that is beautiful this morning. It was absolutely beautiful this morning.
Well, I know Flagstaff's not that far from you. There, kind of, and they're going to fires up there, but hopefully the rain will come, with the winds, the rain will come, but isn't that part of why you grow native plants in your garden, is to kind of help mitigate the bad weather and the climate change situation?
Yeah, exactly. If we had planted native plants a long time ago, we probably wouldn't be in this predicament. Just saying.
Yeah, Kathy, I think that's what's so interesting about you in Albuquerque and being downtown. You're doing it Can you give us a little overview of your garden?
Okay. Well, we are not necessarily native landscaping because back in the 1920s and 30s, there were a lot of Siberian elm trees planted down here in the downtown and the Rio Grande Valley area. And they're not native, but they're large shade trees. So the anomaly is we have a lot of shade in our yard. You wouldn't think about New Mexico and having a lot of shade, but we do. So we've got large trees and we've got grass in our front yard. But then and plantings all around. We have a walled-in front yard, so it's a lovely yard for the guests to be in. Right now, I've got Banks roses in full bloom. I've got Virginia creeper on the walls, and the challenge for me has been to try and soften and cool and green up the yard to create an oasis here, because we are an urban inn surrounded by lots of concrete and blacktop and stuff, and then we have planters along the front of the house. So, and then part of it is probably about 12, 14 years ago, I heard about the certified wildlife habitat through the Wildlife Federation. And I went online and found out that we met all of the requirements for it, which is food, shelter, water, and nesting places. And since we have so many birds in our yard, that qualified for all of them. And over the years, I've added different feeders to attract different birds. So in addition to lots of finches and goldfinches and robins, we now have woodpeckers and nuthatches. The hummingbirds are here. I haven't seen them yet, but I've heard them, so we'll see them eventually. And then we also have we have some skunks around, believe it or not, and raccoons right here in the heart of the city.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's cool. See, but that's important, because I know animals go back to genetically go back to their home, So I also want to go over to Tiffany's Bed and Breakfast in Hot Springs, Arkansas. And by the way, everyone, we've got 4 bed and breakfasts on the show today, and we've stayed in each one. And I'm going to tell you, if you don't go, dude, you're missing out.
They're highly recommended.
I may have been raised in Africa, but I still say dude. But dude. I want to go. I want to go over to Bob and Tiffany Bertram, who run Tiffany's Bed and Breakfast in Hot Springs, Arkansas. And it took a while to get there. Even during the pandemic, they're like, Arkansas is close to you. Well, that sucks. And yet they were the most secluded bed and breakfast.
That was so
Seriously,
cool.
They've got, I think 50, 60 acres of forest. I don't know if I'm getting it right, but we watched owls, fireflies, hummingbirds, cardinals. Cool. I mean, this is like the nature retreat. And so, Tiffany, are you there?
I'm here, and so is Bob.
Hi.
Oh, Bob.
Hi.
Bob, the horticulturist. Bob, how are you
doing?
Oi.
This is where the show starts to get crazy.
There we go.
This is why Bed and Breakfast travel is so much fun, because you become friends with the innkeepers, and we all get silly together. But Oi, your garden is exceptional. Oi, Bob is now Oi. Your garden is exceptional, and you have a horticultural background, right? So this going into becoming an innkeeper was kind of like you'll do this and well, I heard you make
I have
I'm sorry, but
I have a degree in horticulture and botany, and life without trees and that would be real sad, and they're cutting a lot of trees here as we speak. But I had a fella call me one time and asked me he wanted to cut my trees down. I told me he didn't have enough money in the world to cut my trees down, so he never called me back. I want to see my animals and birds and and things. But yes, but I grow Japanese maples, and that's a good habitat for birds. I know one of the ladies said that we have a National Wildlife Federation also as far as water. The animals need water, shelter, food, and they need a place to raise their young, and those are the 4 essential things. So we have a lot of different bird houses, feeders. Our hummingbirds we probably got probably a dozen or so already, and we'll have, before it's all said and done, we'll have 30 to 40 probably.
Wow.
And no dead zones here. I just looked at the Birdcast migration dashboard for last night. They estimate 5 million birds crossed our county last night.
Wow.
Migration.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's unbelievable.
Wow.
Tiffany, didn't you just have a bunch of people studying hummingbirds at the B&B?
Yes, it was last summer, but it was a professor from Texas A&M, Dr. Delmore, and she brought some of her coworkers along with her. They were studying the migration, or the help me, Bob. The mating.
The mating of the male female, obviously, and
hummingbirds.
And what they did is
mating and migrating.
They had these. They placed these tents, like they were like covers, and they had food and water in them, and the female was in there. And once she calmed down, they also had this all on film and sound, so you could hear it and see it. It was really cool because what they wanted to see was the male swooping, is what they call it, and that's how she's calling the female to mate. And he started doing that, and I said so. And she also made a point of saying that's the only thing a male will help a female do. She says otherwise they're really useless. I thought that was kind of funny.
They're just like humans.
No, come on.
Okay, but then listen, if you make fudge and you make brownies, that's good. I want to go over to our next guest, Bob and Debi Schulman. They are out in Odessa, Delaware, and such a beautiful historic community, very small, and their bed and breakfast is on a garden, like literally a garden that horticulture has just developed, and it was so cool to go there, and so welcome. How are you? Is it Bob and Debi both on the show, or who's on? Because I know you guys are already guests and stuff.
We're here.
Awesome.
Both of you. Oh,
both of us are here.
Cool.
Good. Welcome back. Welcome back, Bob and Debi. So, how is Pablo, the most interesting man dog of the universe? How is he doing?
Pablo's right next to us.
He actually just finished. I had to keep him quiet by doing a puzzle.
A dog puzzle.
Oh my God! See, listen, this is
the most handsome dog in the
There's
world.
animals. We got Jesse, who's about to bark, so I'm just going to let you know. And then, let's go over to Tiffany's B&B. We've got Buddy and the cat. Buddy and the cat. Buddy and the cat. Buddy and the cat.
You got your animals wherever you go.
I know.
And then you got Ozzy and Oreo over at Lion and the Rose, right?
Yep. Bob
and over at Bottger, you guys you've got the kitties out front for people. That's amazing.
Yeah, we got a new cat. I don't think you've been here since he was born under the back porch, and Mom cat kind of scattered. It was real cold, and we Tiffany and I just brought her right in the house, and the other one just took right to it, and it's all black, and he's a mess, and he's really cool, and so she thinks more of her cats than she does me. So that's really that's good though.
Well, listen, I think this is an important part of an Earth Day conversation because pets and gardens and people do want to have that experience with the animals. Kathy, over at Bottger Mansion in Old Town Albuquerque, you've got your kitties. That's part of the experience for people, right?
Well, it is. For me. Yeah, the guests are, most of the guests are looking for the cats before they want to meet us.
Oh. But that means they're good guests because they love animals. And if they love animals, they're kind.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
I just had 3 women come together, to a daughter and her 90-year-old mother and a friend from Austin, Texas. And literally, I was meeting them at the door. Pablo was right at the door with me. And the mother, the 90-year-old, said, "Oh, a dog, thank goodness."
Yeah.
So you knew right away we were going to like her.
Yeah.
See, you gotta have the animals. I think, back in the day it was like, no, hide them. But I would go with Steve and Karen over in Asheville. I mean, Ozzy and Oreo are like the mascots of the B&B. Like, move over, lions, like the lion on the road, but really it's Ozzy.
Ozzy is
Oreo
king.
B&B.
He's so cute.
Ozzy.
Ozzy thinks he's king.
Well, of course.
But
he is in his own world.
Our experience.
Oh, he makes sure.
The 3 nights we stayed there and ran it, like, well, I can't even say we ran it. We just did it. Like, we just did it, And there were people that wanted to have that experience. They needed Aussie time. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, you knew they wanted their Aussie time. It's like you could rent him out by the hour.
Yeah.
Some people have even mentioned that we'd pay for him to sleep with us, and I'm like, really? I don't know. He's a little much.
And but I probably wouldn't go that route because you don't know what's no. But he has this effect on people. Like they just go, oh, as they walk in the door, and you can do no wrong after that. They just take one look. Oh.
Sounds like Buddy.
Yeah, he's so well, but see, this is what dogs and cats do. Dogs are more that way than cats, because cats take effort because they just stare at you till you're like, oh gosh, shall I approach or not?
Yeah.
They do. They stare at you, and you're like, okay, I know you're staring. And if you stare at them back, then they leave, and then you feel bad. Well, no, I've done that. This is what happens, and I won't do it again. But dogs are all like, come on over, it's party time.
People want their animal experiences. They do, and then some people don't. So it's an interesting thing in innkeeping. And I just want to say tourism is back, and innkeepers are working their butts off. So go to B&Bs and be kind and do it, because this is like a different experience. You can go out. The B&Bs we're talking about on today's show, again, we've got the Lion and the Rose Bed and Breakfast in Asheville. You can go to lion-rose.com. Tiffany's Bed and Breakfast. Everyone's going to have to give their websites at this point. Tiffany's Bed and Breakfast in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Bottger Mansion of Old Town Bed and Breakfast in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And Miller Dunham House Bed and Breakfast in Odessa, Delaware. I want to go back to Bob and Debi. Debi, your garden is beautiful. You guys make amazing breakfast. And one of the things, when we talk about Earth Day and nature, one of the things that you can sit in that wonderful garden area and like that window. Yeah. You've got this giant window, and you can watch the birds at the feeder. All kinds of birds come in. I think is that something you hear back from your guests about being able to have that respite of this, because you're so far when you think about Delaware and how close you are to D.C. and to You have that big bridge you go on. I don't know.
Big bridge from,
you know.
Okay.
You're really close to all those really big cities, but you guys I couldn't believe it. Like, I was scared to go to Delaware.
Oh my
and
gosh.
You are such a quaint, historic, small, quiet town. Is that something your guests talk about, going to the B&B, that they can just relax in the garden and look out the window?
Odessa dates back. Well, the oldest house in Odessa is built in 1700, so there's quite a bit of history here. And we're a town of about 300 to 350 people. Yet the area around us is growing in leaps and bounds, like much of the country. We have we're on 3.5 to 4 acres. We live in the woods, basically. But the original builder of the house, Dr. Dunham, and his wife were both horticulturists. He was the head of the horticultural department at the University of Delaware. And he is responsible for, their passion and hard work, herb gardens, flower gardens, vegetable gardens, rose bushes, lilacs. And so after we go into we have an open field after our fenced-in area, because we are pet-friendly, and then into the woods, and that borders on a creek, which borders on a wildlife refuge. So we have tons. We have birders that come here to go to a place called Bombay Hook, which is a 16,000-acre national wildlife refuge. And one of the birders is a professor from Syracuse University who photographs and paints the birds at Bombay Hook. But she gave me a list that we, on our property, as she looked out our all-seasons room, as you were describing, to see the birds, we have about a half a dozen feeders, and she recognized 37 kinds of birds we have in our backyard, and which I didn't know. I'm not a birder, but all I can say is, look, I think innkeepers, first of all, are a special breed of people. It's certainly not a lifestyle for everyone, but and what makes it a B&B different from a hotel, I believe, is we're vested. We're the innkeepers and or the owners, and we're vested in this property. Most of us live on that property, so it's your home. And it's different than being the front desk hotel clerk. It's not the same. Not that you can't have a good stay at a hotel, but I think that's the coziness, the personalization, and the hominess, if you will, of a B&B is, in my opinion, unmatched. And we take care of our properties, and because we appreciate the outdoors. I mean, we're fortunate to live on 3.5 to 4 acres. And it's just a beautiful thing, and you get to appreciate our history and the nature around you.
You know, we checked into one.
Go ahead, Nancy.
Okay, I'd say we checked into one hotel, and I'm not going to say who and where it was, but we were greeted by a thing that talked, not a person. No, and it just check in here, do this, do that. And I was like, where's my happy face? Where's my hi, how are you? Did you have a good trip? Where was that? And then I thought, okay, you're older, get used to it, because this is where we're going. And I'm like, I don't know if that's where I want to go.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, actually, I don't think all the age groups actually want that. And from what we're seeing in tourism, you know, all the stats and all the reports and everything, and just even from us as travelers, we're seeing, you know, younger generation going into B&Bs, and from as our travelers, we were in breakfast rooms, and we're seeing people that were, you know, I've done like a ton of travel all my life, but seeing people really young going in on their first bed and breakfast excursion, it was kind of a big deal. It was like, we're going to try this. And we saw more of that than I've ever seen in my entire life. And, you know, and bed and breakfast at one point, and you guys all know, we kind of got, done with the doilies, the dusty doily mode, and we're like, okay, we want the real experience. And
don't forget the plastic flowers.
Right there with the dusty doilies.
The last couple of years, all the bed and breakfasts we stayed in and work with, and we're just like, oh my God, this is exciting. We saw younger people coming in, people the first time, and it was about having an authentic experience. So going back to what we are on Earth Day, I think, Kathy over at Bottger Mansion in Old Town, here we are in this historic Old Town district, and it's not like Tiffany's has a business garden. Everybody's got a different circumstance, but you went and made decisions of what you're doing to be as authentic as possible. Yet, I think you kind of have to, because you are part of Route 66, and your mansion has had people like Elvis and all kinds of historic people stay there, and your rooms are decorated accordingly. So that's the whole experience about B&Bs. It's like it's so authentic and treated special. It's special.
Yeah.
If you want to feel special traveling, go to B&B. So, but Kathy, isn't that part of it for you as a B&B owner? Like, taking care of the wildlife, but like letting people have that experience.
It's not just the yard and the birds, although people do comment all the time about our place being an oasis in the middle of the city, but the historic house and the history of this area and this house also is something that people are really interested in, not just in 66, but the fact that Old Town was the founding via in 1706, and there's so much history here. So there's that aspect of it. And if we're going to talk about yards and gardening and all that stuff that goes with it, another thing that people really, really love is when you start having breakfast outside, sometime right around Memorial Day, and have breakfast outside in the courtyard every morning, right into probably well into about mid-September. And I've got hummingbirds there, and they love to sit out there with the fountain and the plants and the vines and everything, and watch the hummingbirds come over to the feeder as they're sitting there having breakfast. It's amazing. People talk that and come back and say, "Oh yes, we had breakfast outside, 4 years ago, and just loved it outside." So cool. And being the gardener, not having someone else doing it, but I'm the gardener. And planting things, I'm trying new things this year, and being able to talk to the guests about what it is that I'm planting and what are the particulars about this yard, and what do we have to deal with as far as temperatures and water requirements. And I'm going to be planting basically a butterfly and bee garden this year.
Cool.
Help the bees.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's
so
awesome.
I love that.
That is because I think when you have that, this is what's so beautiful about you guys doing this. It's, whether you're a certified wildlife habitat or not, it is about having a conversation point. And I think just exactly we've been the guests, and then Steve and Karen got us roped into learn to be on the other side and now listen to the guests. Even though you've been a guest all your life, now listen to the guests. And, what we saw is like you watch people like sit outside in the garden. You got people wanted to do like the fire pit outside, and at times we had to tell them no, can't do it after 10. But you know what I mean. But there's something about having nature surround you. No matter how, like Steve and Karen, you guys are in the historic district too. You have a garden. It's a big garden. Like if you were just in a normal home, that's a big garden. Yep. But for a B&B of your stature, with you guys have the big ass mansion. I'm just saying, like it is. Like here. No, I'm just saying it because I know going up down the stairs now. Like that's a whole thing. The Victorian mansion. It's beautiful. But it is beautiful. But like really, if you didn't have that natural surrounding, it would be different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'd be boring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No.
And you guys have bears that have come through your garden, right, Karen?
Yeah, that's the problem. We have to be careful with bird feeders and that certain times of year because the bears will come around for that.
Mm-hmm. You know, we keep chopping down their trees. In the forest? I mean, dudes. Mm-hmm. I like the bears, so I'm like, I'd be thrilled if I saw a bear come in and play with your bird feeders.
We love it too, and most of our guests get really excited when they hear that there's bears around. There was a bear walking downtown Asheville yesterday, and everybody's like, I missed it. Oh my gosh.
Yep. Yeah, because they're not going to be here long the way we're taking away their habitat. And they're so
by
cool.
the way, if they have a collar on them, they are not a pet if they're walking around.
Yep, this one was another collared one.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah, but
but just for people to know, that if there's a collar, they've been tagged so the animal control knows who they are, right? That's the thing,
right?
Doesn't mean they're a bad person. Just pointing that out.
They're not on home arrest.
No, I mean it's interesting doing. Like you take your trash out the time that the trash truck's coming out. But Steve, I want to ask you, what is it like maintaining your garden? Because you have a slopey slope, and you've got your wildlife area. I mean, that's kind of you've got an interesting you've got work. Just saying, it looks like a little bit of work to me.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Arkansas supposedly has some of the most black bears in the country, and for statewide, and Tiffany had a little incident with a black bear come right up to the house. Actually, one of our bird feeders.
I believe it.
Scary.
Yeah.
No, he was cool.
He was full. So lucky for Tiffany.
He wasn't here. He doesn't know.
Right.
But you just don't look him in the eye and lay down. I learned that in Africa. Just don't look it in the eye and lay down. It works. Just look him in the eye. Don't do it. Don't, even though you want to. Don't look him in the eye and just lay down. And you guys, they don't mean harm.
They don't.
No.
No animals do, but I think it's great that all of you really create this space. But in closing, so I'm going to ask you one thing. The latest plant you looked at in your garden, the latest plant in your garden that you looked at, and the latest animal, bird, or natural living thing other than the plant that you looked at, so people can understand this. So let's go to Steve and Karen. What is the last thing you looked at in your garden?
I would say that because the hyacinths were coming up.
Oh. Hyacinths.
But not any relation to the latest bird thing is that we've had like a blue jay or a pair of blue jays going back and forth in the garden or across the garden into the bushes making a nest somewhere. So they're nesting somewhere. We're not sure exactly where right now.
But that's cool.
Then they find a fire pit.
They're getting burnt
twigs. And you have owls. We've heard owls at your place at night too. So.
Yeah, we have great horned owls and barred owls.
Yeah.
So they're getting
real quick,
twigs
Karen, tell
fire
everybody
pit.
It's got nothing to do with Earth Day, and we have to wrap this up fast. But real quick, tell everybody about May. Real quick, because you'll come on another show May 2nd about this. But tell everyone what's going on.
Okay, well, we've done in support of our troops where we work with Soldiers Angels, baking for soldiers overseas and sending them a box of goodies. And it's been a bunch of us that have been trying to support and respect our military. So if anybody wants to join in, we are doing that again this year.
Awesome.
So go to lion-rose.com and contact Steve and Karen about that.
Yep.
So check that out. And so I'm going to go over to Oi, his name is Blob, but we say Oi. And Tiffany over at Tiffany's Bed and Breakfast in Hot Springs. Tiffany and Bob, let's go to Bob on the plants. Bob, what is the last plant you looked at?
Well, I got a bird of paradise I brought out. And because I had them in my greenhouse, and so I set it on so people can see it when they walk by. And we also got some beautiful amaryllis that I brought out as well.
Oh, nice.
And they're blooming, and they're really beautiful. And
yeah.
They're a different color. They're a white and pink, and
white
really,
and pink. Wow.
Yeah, they're really unique. And
wow.
So
anyways,
get
red and yellow.
Yeah.
White and pink. Cool.
So
awesome.
and then of course our hummingbirds. I always see them all the time, and they're going in the gardens and things too as well.
Cool. Awesome.
And listen, everyone, Hot Springs is just celebrating a national, Tiffany, over 100 years now, right? Hot Springs National Park. It's National Park Week. We got to bring this up. 101 years, 102 years. What is it, Tiffany? Oh, she may be gone. I know. You guys are checking guests in too.
Yeah, I think a guest just arrived.
Yeah, you guys.
Cool.
This is how it works. So everyone, if you want to check in, go to Tiffany's bedandbreakfast.com. So that's where you go. Okay. So I'm going to go over. Thank you, Oi. And we're going to go over to Bottger Mansion of Old Town Albuquerque and go back to Kathy. Kathy, what is the last plant you saw in your garden?
I planted 3. They're new plants. I just discovered them at the nursery. It's called a Pilotus, Petlotus, and it's from Australia. It's an extremely heat and drought-tolerant plant. Basically, they say you stick it in the ground and ignore it, which is great for here. I'm putting native landscaping and drought-tolerant plants out in front of our front gate, which is a west-facing dry area. So it's a cute little thing, and the variety is called Joey. It's got like a pink plume, feathery-looking thing on the top that's blooming. So that's the latest plant. And then birds this morning that I saw before it started getting windy were the goldfinches are at the feeders and a lovely little ladderback.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Very cool. Mm-hmm. Everybody, you can keep up with Bottger Mansion. If you go to Albuquerque, New Mexico, you've got to. They're in, it's the best place to just park and rest. You're in Old Town, which is surrounded by art, public art, and restaurants and shops. It's so easy to explore Albuquerque from them. So go to Bottger.com, BOTTGER.com. Okay, so we're going to go over to Debi and Bob Schulman again over at the Miller Dunham House, and their website is miller-dunham.com. And I keep going Miller and Dunham House. I'm going to go look at all my promo I did for the show because I keep going Miller and Dunham. But these are, two families that came together on this property. So, Bob, Debi,
yes, it's me.
What is the last plant you looked at?
So actually, it's funny because I just was outside because unlike some of your other guests, we're just still trying to figure out the gardens that the Dunham family left us or left here for the Miller family and for us. But I actually had just taken a picture of, which I didn't remember from last year, was a panicle hydrangea, Panicle hydrangea, which almost looked like, you know how money trees look? It almost looks like that it's that coloring. I had no idea it was a hydrangea. And a winter honeysuckle were the two that I didn't remember from last year. So every time, the season comes around and new things pop up, I'm like, I don't even remember this. And
I like the money honeysuckle. I like that.
Yeah? You like that? The money? Okay. It sounds good.
Okay. So now
oh, my God, bird. You know what?
A bird. Yeah.
So many, but my favorite is still, and it's every day, is the red-winged blackbird.
We saw them in the wildlife refuge too, and you had swans.
Yes, at Bombay Hook, I know.
Oh,
I just love when they fly away.
Oh.
The red.
Kathy, your birds. What was the last bird you saw? You have doves. You know what? We've missed doves, in some of the areas we've been to. Kathy, what was the last bird that you saw? Oh, you have skunks, too.
No, are you talking to me?
yeah, Kathy in Bottger mentioned. Yeah, we didn't get your animal.
Yeah, the last birds were goldfinches at the feeder and a ladderback woodpecker.
Oh, that's right. I did hear that. I'm having a hard time technically, so it's all good. It's okay, good. Ladderback. Oh, I'm jealous about that. All right. Well, listen, everyone. Thank you for joining us on Big Blend Radio, and everyone, keep up with us at BigBlendRadio.com, and I hope you connect with everybody that was on our show today. Happy Earth Day, and really, Earth Day is every day. It doesn't matter. We're going to close with this song called Loving the Land. This is from our friend Wally Lawder, and it's just a song we've played over the years. So here it is, Loving the Land. Keep up with Wally.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Bye.
Good day.
Yes.
Thanks.
Goodbye.
We miss you guys.
Bye.
Well, I'm sitting on my back porch, my guitar in my hand, and I'm looking at the afternoon, I'm looking at the land. It's got that honey-colored light, golden rose reflecting from the sun. She steps outside and asks me, what are you doing, hon? And I'm loving the land. I'm just loving the land. I'm loving the land. I'm just loving the land. Got an angel in my corner, must have a Buddha at my side. And if I had any worries, I've left them all behind. Maybe it's the time of day, maybe it's the light. Blame it on the air I'm breathing, but I couldn't feel more right. And I'm loving the land. I'm just loving the land. I'm loving the land. I'm just loving the land. Afternoon light on a simple corner lot in a humble town, waiting for the sun to go down. Well, when this land was made, it was made from near and far. Molecules and galaxies and mystery and bits of stars. And I'm just letting go like a leaf to the wind. I'm floating on a feeling, I'm just giving in. And I'm loving the land. I'm just loving the land.